If there's one thing you guys know about me, or maybe you don't, is I have raging ADHD. I decided I want to change some loop stuff in here already. There's also some spots I'm not like too happy with in here. Like I'm not really that happy with the flow meter temperature sensor. I may or may not be able to clean that up. But so today I'm going to change out the radiators to the new ones that I got from Singularity Computer that I didn't know were coming. Otherwise I probably would have just used these. Although this build was done a bit before these came. These are some thick boys. So that means, where's the fittings? Okay, right there. That means I'm gonna have to kind of rearrange some stuff and hopefully this will fit in there. Yeah, well, it's bigger than, oh boy. Anyway, okay, so I'm gonna have to drain it first. Worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, I can just put it all back together. The problem is I'm gonna have to cut these tubes right here because as you can see, these are 30 mil thick fans in there. I need to get the side panel off, but those are 30 mil thick radiators with 25 mil thick fans. And I'm not sure what the thickness of this rad is right here. This looks like it's gonna be like maybe a 50 mil rad. Looks bigger than a 45. I can measure it with my calipers. But, I got one more. I'm really curious now if we are gonna have an issue of it lining up with my 2 tubes that are coming out of the distro plate reservoir. I also like that I can take this and flip it. I'm also curious as to what this will look like with it off. Let me just see. I'm not really a fan of the PCB style and look of it, but if it doesn't look bad empty, I might just do that with nothing on there. The cool thing is, it gives me a place to make my own thing, I guess, if I wanted. Pretty damn clean. I think we'll just go with that. I don't think these are gonna fit in here. Let me tell you why. That sticks out, which would stick out right into this fan. I may not be able to run these rads in this build because now I'm looking at the overhang here because this is thicker than the radiator and the fans are now. Well, shoot, this derailed before it even started. Because now if I look at it up here, if we add the fans, it's going to not only interfere with hitting potentially the RAM, I'm gonna have to have a fitting here, like a 90-degree fitting to bring it down and clear that, but that thickness looks like it might potentially even hit right there. Oh man, that sucks. Because the reason why I wanted to run these thicker rads for even more cooling was because everything temperature-wise, dang it, skin, whatever. Everything temperature-wise on here was really good on the 5090 until I added the 2 4K OLEDs. And I got rid of my 4K by 1600p ultra wide, and then I had 27-inch 4K. Now 4K is 4K regardless of the dimensions. But once I added the second 4K on there, OLED, that was a 240 hertz. So raising the resolution and raising the refresh rate put the GPU under more load because the GPU can, and I do run G-Sync and I do run SyncTech. I don't want the GPU just running to max temps, max clocks for no reason. If I can hit the refresh rate of my panel, we're good, okay? And so once I went from a 144, which I was running at 120, I had it locked to 120, that way when I'm doing a 60 FPS stream, it's a perfect like factor of 2 basically. So it's a 60 FPS stream, grabbing 120 frames per second, and then basically every other frame is getting drawn into the live stream, which is making a very smooth experience. If I had it on a number like 144 or 200 or something weird like that, the stream could get choppy or it could get some weird where it's trying to draw a frame in between a frame being sent to it. So it was just nice having it locked into a factor of 60, right? So my GPU temps were going from like 42, 43 under load with a coolant temp of like 34, 33, 34 on average. My GPU was now hitting 50 with coolant temp hitting 40. And that's simply because of the fact that there's more load coming off the GPU. Like the GPU was normally sitting in like the 450, maybe 500 watt range. Now it can go up to the full 600 when gaming, simply because of 4K and HDR is on. I mean, I was like, if you're gonna run an OLED and not have HDR on, what's the point of having an OLED as well? So that's why I wanted to change the radiators, but damned if these aren't like much thicker boys than I thought in multiple ways. I'm not about to change the case again. All right, let me think about this for a minute because this changes everything. Oh, and remember all the micro bubbles? Like I was saying, over time, especially as they get hot, like as the coolant gets hot, those bubbles will release and let go. You can see my coolant level, well, it actually dropped down to about right here. You can see the line, but because it laid down flat in the car when I was getting it here, the coolant level rose because now the air moved somewhere else. All right, let me think about this. All right, so here's what we're probably gonna do. I'm probably gonna change out the bottom rad because I can't see the top rad anyway. I just realized it'll definitely more than likely interfere because there's thicker on the side as well. This little like rolled edge right here adds thickness. So I think it'll hit up here on the motherboard as well. And then not only that, let's say I did get this to squeeze up there somehow. I don't know if I'd ever be able to get the RAM out. Now, one thing I've noticed too is that my pump speed has been sort of slowing down just a little bit over time. Yeah, it's maxed out. The pump flow I used to see was like 1.8, 1.9 liters per minute. And then this morning when I turned it on, it was like 1.6. But this is a glycol-based coolant, and it was 20C in my bedroom or in my game room when I turned it on. And so what I tend to notice is when it's really cold, it's a little bit thicker of a viscosity. So then the pump obviously moves it a little bit slower. And then as the system gets to full operating temp, or the coolant's up in like the 30s, then it bumps up to like 1.8, 1.9. But I'm wondering now, I don't see anything like clogging up in the block right here because I can see up inside the blocks. That's the nice thing about clear blocks. Oh, maybe not. This is building up in the block right there. This is the Corsair coolant, the same coolant that Phil's used, and Phil dealt with this as well. But remember, I added blue dye, and that's a dye that came with, or came from Primochill. I don't know if this is a reaction from the dye and the coolant. So I noticed the blue started disappearing. Right, see how it looks almost mostly clear on camera right now? I added blue dye to this after the build, before Phil did his montage. That's why the montage, it looked more blue versus the video. And I noticed it was disappearing. But look, you can even see some blue globs right there in the block. So this is now turned into a, can I fit the lower rad? If so, great. But now we need to do some maintenance. Now I can see inside the CPU block, it's also built up in there too. That now explains why I was noticing the pump starting to slow down. 0.3 liters per minute slowdown on a D5 is a lot. Now the cool thing about going to a thicker rad like this is this will actually relieve some of the restriction, because this is a 60 mil rad. I just measured it. Basically I have double the amount of flow through the rad because of the more, it's either gonna be larger rows. Yeah, they're just larger rows, which essentially is like opening up the tubing diameter, which means more flow. So fortunately, if I go to this, that means I should have less of a flow issue. More reasons why water cooling is so stupid. And you know what? I still love it. Shut up. Now that that is drained, I'll never like gravity feed, or I will always vacuum fill and pressure drain. I will never vacuum or gravity bleed anything anymore. I'll never gravity drain anything anymore, except the lizard. Actually, I guess there's pressure in there.
Yeah, that's pressure too.
All right, well, I gotta get the blocks out. There it is. With the der thermal grizzly Bower block. All right, well, you know, this is typically what happens. Things become a little bit of a snowball effect. Although in my instance, when I do stuff like this, the snowball feels more like Christmas Vacation, where he's on his little saucer that he's like used his like special lubricant from work on. He was like 1, 2, and it's on fire. Like that's what it feels like for me. Like that's my snowball. It's not like a slow roll. It's just a thump of power behind it falling apart.
Protect those with your life. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna stick with the Der Bower stuff, the Thermal Grizzly stuff right now, but don't forget, Singularity did send me their blocks too, but I would have to then redo all the tubing, for most of the tubing anyway, because they're not gonna land in the same spot. So I'm not gonna do that. Well, I think we already know what we're gonna find in here. Fortunately, I should be able to get this pretty clean, pretty easily. It looked worse. It really looked worse through the cover right there. Okay, whatever. The exception of a little discoloration, that's perfectly clear. So, I don't know, maybe I'm just having a stroke. Okay, obviously I cleaned up the block, you guys saw that. That was almost just more for good measure than anything else at this point. All right, well, now once I'm done putting this back in, we get to tear into that. Which should be pretty easy, actually.
Ew.
Ah, man, do you know how many times I've torn one of these apart? Like, it's easy, but it's just like, come on, I don't want to do this anymore. Need to get the nut off. Hey, it does have the center removable plate, so I don't have to disassemble the entire block. This is actually really brilliant. I like this too because I know Der Bauer did this not only for like easy to service, but I think he did this so if he ever improves the design, you can just switch it out. See how easy that is? That part's nice and clean. It's fine. Ew. I mean, it's not terrible. Like, this was not affecting my flow rate, to be honest. But I might as well clean that out while I'm here, right? It's really not that bad, though. Like, it's truly not. Let me see, it's soft. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. Nowhere near as bad as my blocks were.
Yours needed to be replaced.
Yeah, like full on they were ruined.
Yeah. I love that center plate design. I thought this had that. I know the Corsair does for sure, but now I want to ask Der Bauer, like, are you working on any insert changes? Probably not. I think what you just saw right now is the entire reason why this exists. I'm gonna give a little bit of a pass for one particular reason. Like, this isn't the fault of the, I don't think this is the fault of the coolant, the Corsair coolant. Let me explain why. If you recall, I initially had this build in my light base 900 Be Quiet case. And when I did that case initially, I reused my EK360 radiators, which had been used in other builds with other components and other fluids. And I didn't do like a full-on flush or anything like that on it. So it's possible that the stuff we're seeing built up in here right now was kicking it in those older radiators. And I've reused the fittings too, which have some discoloration and stuff in them. So it's quite possible that this issue happening quickly like this is because of that. It's not because of the coolant itself. Now, that doesn't change the fact that Phil's did it too, but the fact is Phil's system also had older, like, reused parts. Like, his reservoir is the Bits Power square res, and it's like a cube. It's pretty neat looking. But anyway, that came out of my old build. It was in my Black Ice build. So again, reused parts. So I think it really goes to show the importance of properly flushing and cleaning out your parts. Also too, you can run an inline filter, like Aqua Computer makes one. I've used it in systems in the past, like just to clean out the system before I built it. But you could run a full-time filter in there as well if you wanted. So I think I'm gonna go liquid metal on this, but I need to make a moat like this. I'm just using the foam. It was actually intended for, I don't know. But fortunately the foam spreads nicely, and the foam would just give me something to keep the liquid metal in place. We have all of the components that are around the die that we obviously don't want to be sitting there with liquid metal ever making its way there. So I'm gonna put clear nail polish around there, which is fine, it's not gonna hurt anything. It's just for good measure. The moat, if it's doing its job, it should never make its way over to there. So fortunately the foam spreads out, then like it stretches, which is cool because that means when I compress it down, it'll be a little bit denser even. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go liquid metal on this. Why not, right? Why not keep it as cool as possible, just for the hell of it? I've never run liquid metal daily. It shouldn't hurt this long term. All right, so I've gone ahead and put the clear nail polish on there. Whether I do liquid metal or not, this is not gonna hurt anything. So, but I'm using a UV light. This is a gel coat, it's a gel. So I can use UV light to actually harden it. I want to flip the block onto the card, not the card onto the block, because I do not want any of it to roll or move on its own. Line it up the first time, there we go. Ooh, I felt it squish. I get to use my water cooling testing station that I built because I want to make sure that under load, everything's good. I'm not seeing any weird hotspot, even though I can't see hotspot. It'll still throttle if there's an invisible hotspot temp on this card, on all 5090s. You just can't see them anymore. But if there is a spot that the LM isn't touching, or say the foam flopped over onto it and is stopping contact, it'll be apparent in the boost clocks. Okay, so here we go. It's all plumbed up into my quick disconnects. Everything's going in the right order, so I did that correctly. They can only go the right way, honestly. So I need to now bleed this, which is turn my pump on. So you'll see it bleed through here. There it goes. It's currently idling at 21C. I don't have I should have put a loop temperature gauge, like to monitor the coolant temp, but I bet you the coolant temp is around 22C right now, because that's the temperature of the room. Okay, let's go to heaven first, because it's the best test of any of the testing for testing purposes. Okay, the GP's at 33C.
Dang.
I think the LM is working. Now here's the thing, on my loop at home, obviously this has a 560 and a 280 rad. There is a lot of frickin' surface area. But my system at home, even running like Cinnamon or Heaven like this, would spike right to like 38, 39. And that's before any saturation of the coolant temp could have happened. So I think the LM is working. Okay, cool, I'm happy. Okay, so it does fit, and even in the most rearward position with that fitting that hangs out, it doesn't hit. So that's the only adjustment I have in it. It's not a lot. That fan's not doing a whole lot. I mean, in my smoke testing, it does absolutely like create what appears to be like a double channel in here. So you have like the graphics card, which would be like the middle. The heat, according to the flow testing I showed with smoke, came up and went right out the back. And the bottom comes in and goes right out the back. So both my rads are intakes on this. And so that does help promote it to escape in the rear. I want to keep that way. So I don't want to remove the fan, but then also it's aesthetically pleasing to see the symmetry of one on top and one on the bottom. I used up all my luck on the Jack Black thing. So that top right pin right there just pushed itself back in. So check this out. Look at that, it's all like, see it's shallower and like pushed down? It's like it somehow got bent and misaligned. So when I went to put my plug in right now, I just shoved it back. Son of a, At least I'll get to see how my moat worked. Pretty good actually. Yeah, see it's pushed down. See that? It's like crooked. It's like down and this way. It's not something someone should have to do on a $3,000 card. It's not something anyone should have to do on a $50 card. I wish I could replace this myself. But because there's so much ground plane on there, like you have to heat the whole board to get it off. But I've tried. I've tried on other boards over here to do it. Like, it may not have been, I mean, you can kind of see where I attempted right here. There's still all kinds of flux on there. I attempted to get these off. I could never get the solder like hot enough. I would have to heat the whole board, obviously, because it's all connected to the ground plane, which connects the entire board together. I have the heater, that's fine. But I could really ruin this because I have to get the 2 stability rods right there, all 12, 6 of the 12 volt, 6 of the ground, and then the 4 sense pins, all heated up without overheating it anywhere on these small components around it. These are smaller junctions than, say, this guy. Like when I was testing, look at the thickness of those. Right, these are much smaller junctions, which I think might be a lot easier. But I don't really have a card to practice on. I don't want to take the risk. I also don't want 2 5090s over here that are like dead. All right, so I went to my wall of Astrals and just grabbed another one, which is funny because I actually found that one, the pin was bending in too. All of them have pins that can push in. So that, I don't know how you stop that. So I guess it's very important to make sure that that everything's centered, but you're not gonna know. Like if you're feeling a lot of resistance, you could be shoving that pin in and all it takes is one time and that's it. So I've got 2 cards I have to get repaired. Fortunately, this one's okay. I was able to push that pin back because it was only back a little bit, and I was able to get a flathead from my iFixit kit and just sort of shove it back. And I did some testing with this plug to make sure everything's good. And we do appear to be good. I did not do a test with this card over there on the test station. I did put liquid metal on there. I didn't do the moat though this time. The foam actually got kind of saturated with the liquid metal that was already on there. So I just did the same thing of painting a clear nail polish, heavy nail polish gel all around the die. That way nothing can corrode in there and mess up any of those surface mounted things. This is the little adapter that we made out of ABS. To basically a bracket that I can mount my sensor panel to. And then now instead of it being on the back wall, which isn't gonna look good because I don't have a flat wall to mount it against, because now we've added basically 30 more millimeters of overall height on here. I am going to mount this, so I got these 2 screws, or 4 screws technically on the back, but I got 2 holes right there that I can mount to there. And then I'm going to mount, I have to measure and drill the holes. I'm gonna mount these to that right there. So then it'll essentially be, kind of like this. So the whole bottom section's getting kind of busy, but that's okay. You'll notice I left this here. I did consider putting it up here. I even considered putting it right here. You might look at this tube and be like, what the hell? That tube wasn't there before. That's because I decided not to use the distro plate aspect of the distro plate. And you can see I even filled it with fluid and then capped it off because otherwise it would look like that. So there's fluid in that run right there that normally would come over here to the GPU. But I figured this looked better this way because without the extra fittings over here, in going that way, it didn't look too busy right there. So it looks a little more balanced. And then because I have this sort of dual chamber thing going on, like I said, the top and the bottom, this kind of fills in that theme of like matching that run with this run here. So I like this better overall. So what I have left to do now is I've already given myself some slack so I can now more neatly run my sensor panel. I'm gonna have to unzip tie those and get it all nice and pretty and, I don't know, run it down along there or something so you can't really see it. Like I said, that's gonna end up being kind of like right there. Sort of hides that cable a little bit. But yeah, I think we're almost there. Like I said, this wasn't snowballed into a bigger project. This was shotgunned into a bigger project. So I have to make myself a jig, not a jig, but I'm gonna probably just make myself a template, take a piece of paper, poke holes, transfer it over to that, drill holes. And then I know these are 124 millimeters apart right there. 140 millimeter fans are 124 millimeters apart, center on the stud. Just a quick sanity check, holding air. Remember, if it holds air, it'll hold fluid. Oh, what the? Okay. It vacuumed out some of the stuff that was still in the upper rack. Okay, vacuum fill time. This is the part many of you have never seen. This is my favorite part. I'm just going clear. I'm not gonna do any blue or anything like that. It's fine. I got so much RGB in there, you couldn't even really notice the blue anyway. 2 liters in here, because I know for a fact it holds more than 1 liter, especially with the size of that lower rad. It's gonna hold a good amount of fluid. One thing I can do too, that will kind of help with gravity, is to lay this more flat. That way it just has to go and not up against gravity. If I can understand it, that's all that matters. Let's get my vacuum going. Still climbing. The problem is this tube collapses. It's almost like I need to get a better, a firmer tube here. So this one's more like a vinyl tube. You can see it's very soft. That's gonna hold its shape better. Yeah, it's not collapsing. Cool. Close that off. Now it's holding vacuum. I can now take this and open it up and it should pull it in. Oh, it's pulling air. I was like, it's farting. Why is it farting? Okay, pulled a little air in, but that's okay, because there should be enough coolant in here for me to at least get the pump turning, which is all that matters. Look at the flow rate already. Oh, it dried out. Ow, that's my finger. Okay, now I just get to fill this up the old-fashioned way. I was already seeing more flow rate at cold than I ever did. That's because the lower rad is less restriction.
Need to get this into Windows too, that way it can load up my IQ profile, which speeds up my fans.
All right, well, the exception of that, which is just because that's the only display it sees, is done. I've got liquid metal all over the table I gotta clean off. I did everything I wanted to do, with the exception of getting the top one in there, but because that was an impossible fit, kind of like me in a large. Check this out. Coolant temp's 22.9, core is at 23 on the GPU. The liquid metal can actually keep it closer to the loop temp. Okay, run Heaven full screen. You can see everything on my sensor panel. This is why these are so awesome. I can see my per pins right there too, so I'll know if one of those is weird. Okay, nope, they all seem to be pretty even so far, so that's good. Look at that, right up to 33. Isn't it the same it was on the big old giant one? Yeah, and with those temps, I had a 100 core and a 1000 RAM on here. I didn't even realize was active. So at 600 watts, it's currently at 41C in Furmark, which makes perfect sense. I'm okay with this. There's always gonna be, it's never gonna be perfectly level, so. Core's at just over 1 volt, or 520 watts. Yeah, I'm happy with this. I would call this a success. Not only that, look, as the temperature goes up on the coolant, damn it, it went away. It was 2.3, but there it goes. See, as this warms up, the viscosity thins out a little bit because it is glycol, and so it actually gets better flow as it gets warmer. But I'm just curious now, I'm gonna let this run for a while. I'm just curious as to what the loop temp's gonna get to. So far the loop is staying way, way cooler. Like already at home, it would have been in the 30s already, even just after that run, because there's so much heat coming off the GPU. All right guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I got a different video I gotta get up, and then I'm just gonna let this thing run. So hopefully you guys learned something today. What it was, I don't know, probably it's just don't do this. I don't know, but I'm always gonna do this. I'm an enthusiast for it. This is fun to me, it really is. I know some people were like, wow, he must be a sadomasochist, but no, not really. I just like the way this looks and stuff, and that's more fun to me than just looking at an air cooler. So you do whatever works for you, I guess. Loop, full screen, and go. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.